What's good people of YouTube, Facebook, and all social media? I'm Jeff Lightsey Jr. with the Black Boss Channel and Victory Formation. And today we're going to be talking about how Dennis Schroder blew $80 million. Now, everybody by now probably knows the story of Dennis Schroder. And if you don't, well, I'm going to tell it to you. Dennis Schroder was a point guard in the NBA, or is a point guard in the NBA. He played this past season for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, during this season, Schroder had a decent year. He played pretty well, just okay, not probably to his standards, but he played well enough to stay on the team and to warrant a contract extension from the Lakers. Now, the Lakers offered Schroder a 4-year, $84 million contract extension, right? Dennis Schroder averaged 15 points per game on 43% shooting, 33.5 from the three-point line. So not crazy stats, almost 6 assists and just under 4 rebounds per game. Not crazy stats, but good enough to warrant a 4-year, $84 million contract extension. Now, what happened with Schroder was, well, he bet on himself. He said, hey, man, last year I finished second in the Sixth Man of the Year award. So I believe that I am worth more than an $84 million contract. See, typically in NBA, how it works is if you're good, you get a contract extension after your rookie year, right? Dennis got one. Now, it's not all, make fun of Dennis. He got a contract, 4-year, $70 million contract extension from the Atlanta Hawks during the 2017 season, right? But then now he feels like he's played even better. He's a better player now than he was in 2017, or at least what he believed. And so that's why he wanted to get a bigger deal instead of just the $70 million or an $85 million contract that the Lakers were offering. He felt he was worth $100 to $120 million. Well, here's the problem, Dennis. The only problem is when you bet on yourself, you got to perform. You got to go out there and make it happen. You have to play above and beyond what you are expected. That way they can project and figure, he played really well, and I think he can play this level of basketball for years to come. Right? But that wasn't the case with Dennis. See, in 2019, he was better than he was in 2020. He had more minutes, but averaged less points, shot a worse field goal percentage from both three and the field goal, averaged less rebounds, and just slightly more assists. Well, Dennis, that's not going to get it done. So what ends up happening? He rejects the Lakers offer. And the Lakers say, to hell with Dennis Schroder. And they go out and trade for Russell Westbrook. So now they're wiping their hands clean with the former second place Sixth Man of the Year. And so now, because of the fact that he bet on himself and his stats weren't the same, and there's a reputation going around the league that Dennis Schroder's a tough guy to play with. Teammates don't like Dennis Schroder. Teammates rather have somebody else. Teammates will, he's difficult. So you have two net negatives working against you if you're a Dennis Schroder. Your stats weren't as good as you expected them to be, and people don't seem to like you. People do not seem to like you. So instead of taking that 4-year, $84 million contract that was offered to him by the Los Angeles Lakers, Dennis Schroder had to instead sign with the Boston Celtics on a 1-year deal. Listen to this, guys. That's only worth $5.9 million. A 1-year deal that's worth only $5.9 million. Dennis Schroder just blew $80 million. He bet on himself and he lost. Now, on this platform, all the time, we talk about how you should bet on yourself, right? How you have to get off the corporate plantation, whatever field you work. This happens to be the NBA, and we're not talking about that, but we're talking about whatever field you work. And we talk about how starting businesses get you paid. Owning a business, not a job, is what gets you wealthy, right? The real wealth comes from ownership, right? And you to bet on yourself, right? But see, when betting on yourself, you have to do what we call calculated risk. You have to weigh the risk management. You can't just be dumb, right? You can't, when we say bet on yourself, we don't say bet on yourself with a hope and a prayer and just think that Jesus or whoever is going to save you and be able to account for everything that you don't account for. See, that's kind of what Dennis did. And that's why Dennis lost out on $80 million. See, and the same thing could happen to you. You could lose out, maybe not on $80 million, but on a lot of money if you just jump out there with no plan, no risk management, no real reason to bet on yourself. See, Dennis thought, hey, I'm just Dennis Schroder. Even though, see, here's the thing. The Lakers offered Dennis this contract extension during the year. So Dennis knew what his stats were. He knew what the salaries of others that were going to get the number that he wanted. See, Dennis thought he was worth 100 million, maybe 120. And see, the guys that are getting that kind of money are guys like Julius Randle, who made an all-star team, who was voted most improved player. He didn't come in second. He actually won that award. See, Dennis only came in second for an award. And so when you do that, if you're Dennis Schroder, knowing that you only average 15 points per game, only 3 rebounds per game, as opposed to Julius Randle, who's over 20, 23 points per game, over 10 rebounds per game, and you realize he's going to get the $120 million contract, then I probably should take this $84 million deal. Because if I don't, then I'm taking a risk. Maybe there is someone that's silly enough to pay me that kind of money. Maybe it's someone that's silly enough to even pay me what the Lakers were willing to pay me. Or just maybe, knowing that I'm difficult in the locker room, difficult with teammates, that I could end up with no money compared to what I could have had. I could end up losing $80 million. Guys, I say all this to say this. Don't be like Dennis. Be smart. Calculate your risk, and be sure to take everything into account. Once again, I'm Jeff Lightsey Jr. with the Black Boss Channel and Victory Formation Sports Show. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.